couple months ago, Doechii won the Grammy Award for Rap Album of the Year for her mixtape Alligator Bites Never Heal.
And the winner is...
She's the third woman to ever win the award after Lauryn Hill and Cardi B, and other artists who have won are people like Tyler, the Creator, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, and Nas. It's a list populated by some of the greatest and most creative rappers of all time. But many people's reaction when Doechii won was that they didn't even know who she was. And you can't exactly blame them. Alligator Bites is her first full-length project. But the reaction towards her being the winner went beyond just shock or surprise. The accusations of her being an industry plant unfairly propped up by a corrupt music industry quickly became some of the worst that anyone's ever received. In a world where social media creates overnight sensations that are everywhere today and gone tomorrow, it is easy to dismiss any new artist experiencing sudden fame as an industry plant who's getting boosted by the insincere corporate world. And that's exactly the kind of criticism that Doechii was and still is getting after her unexpectedly winning the Grammy. But when you look deeper into her past, the truth is actually far more unexpected. It turns out that there's actually over 10 years of footage online with her having documented her entire journey as an influencer, entrepreneur, and an artist on the internet since she was a kid in high school. And so the question is the story of Doechii's so-called overnight success one big music industry conspiracy, or is it a surprisingly motivating, inspiring story of an artist fighting the internal battle to stay true while achieving her dreams at the same time? In 2015, a 16-year-old kid from Tampa, Florida named Jayla Hickman started posting videos to her YouTube channel, I Am Doechii TV. You think a high school kid in the mid-2010s would post, with the first video being her singing Do You Want to Build a Snowman in the stairwell at her school.
Do you want to build a snowman?
In some of the videos, she goes on a trip to Disney World.
Right now, I'm about to go pack my stuff and fix myself a big bowl of cereal and have myself a good old night's sleep because I am going on a vacation.
In other ones, she does story times about things that happened at school, or the time she found a snake in her bathroom, or explaining her fear of butterflies.
Why I am so petrified, terrified, horrified of butterflies.
In one video, she gives advice to freshmen on what they need to know being in high school for the first time when she herself was in 11th grade.
We're in summer now, so next year I will be a senior in high school, but technically homegirl is there now. I feel like I can give y'all advice on high school.
And so for the most part, it's a pretty normal series of vlogs from a pretty normal kid. A lot of the content is just kind of cringe teenager stuff, like the video called I Pooped My Pants in My Friend's Car. I was like a grade or two behind Doechii, and watching her videos really brings me back to that time in 2015 to like 2018 when everyone was wearing Converse and Urban Outfitters ripped skinny jeans, smoking cigarettes for the look of it, wearing chokers. Tyler, the Creator's Flower Boy was the best album ever made back then, and you know, it was like a simpler time, an innocent time. That's what a lot of her videos feel like.
As always, if you're interested in more of my creations, my brand Spirit World is currently 20% off all pieces for our spring sale. Go to spiritworld.store and grab one now for free shipping in the US.
But the biggest thing about Doechii's vlogs though is that over time, this sense of ambition and seriousness starts to appear. Over the years, it becomes obvious that she feels she's destined for more, as she goes from this kid in high school making silly vlogs
What time is it? Some more time. It's on vacation.
to a young adult trying to navigate the world and succeed on her own terms.
I am Doechii. I'm a full-time creative and I do a little bit of everything in the world of arts and entertainment.
In 2018, right around the age of 19 years old, she became an entrepreneur, creating a hoodie brand called Stay Woke, Stay Black that went viral and brought a ton of attention to her YouTube right at the height of the BLM rallies.
I'm going to be releasing my brand to you guys and doing an actual product review of the Stay Woke, Stay Black collection.
But even though that brand didn't ultimately end up being the final path for her, the sense of ambition and drive was only becoming a bigger force in her life and her content as she grew up. But ironically enough, the success and the recognition that she wanted so badly wasn't gonna come until she turned her attention back to exactly what she had started making videos about when she was 16 years old. The same passion she had been pursuing for essentially her whole life, and that was music. Tampa, Florida isn't a city where a lot of artists break out into the mainstream. Right now, Rod Wave is probably one of the biggest success stories from the last generation or two, but even he doesn't get a lot of national attention despite his big fan base. And even though there are 3 million people in the Tampa metro area, it's never been a city that's had a big impact in the wider world of hip-hop or pop culture. But if anyone was ever going to be next up from Tampa, Doechii was one of the few people who might have just been destined to make it. Music runs deep in her family, with her dad actually being a pretty notable local artist going by the name Snatcha Da Boss, but probably the biggest mark that Mr. Boss has made in the larger music industry, despite his own pretty creative releases, is from pushing his daughter forward and encouraging her to be herself, and even later supporting her through her own musical journey. During one recent podcast interview about being Doechii's dad, he shared a memory of making beats on his keyboard when Doechii was just a few months old. He talks about her watching him intently as he worked on music, already showing signs of her future inclinations before she was even a toddler. During that interview with Doechii's dad, though, the biggest thing that he talks about is his daughter being a different type of kid from the beginning. One thing that really sticks out is his pride over her ability to have her own sense of identity as a kid. He talks about her developing a unique taste in music when she was in middle school, listening to stuff like Paramore or even heavy metal bands, stuff that people around her at school or at home weren't into at the time. But he also talks about the dark consequences of her unique interests. There's one story he tells about taking her back to school shopping in middle school, and her wanting to go into the stores at the mall where he had never even been himself, stores that catered mostly to white customers, and how she started building up her own style that, again, no one around them was into at the time. But sadly, her alternative taste only caused problems when the kids at her school started bullying her so bad that her parents had to show up to the school to make sure it would get handled. In his words, it was awful.
I want to say it was Robles Elementary. I want to say she was like 5th grade, 4th grade, her first time going to public school. It was rough. It was a rough year for her and me and her mom because we were at the school nonstop, especially her mom. Not playing, but she's so strong-minded and strong-willed, and like I said, she has such a great awareness of self that she didn't let none of that break her, deter her, or nothing like that.
There's a 2022 interview that says, Doechii remembers the first time she was called a black bitch like it was yesterday. She was a shy kid in 3rd grade, having recently moved from a predominantly white private school to a more diverse public school. She had experienced bullying and racism at school before, but not like this. She says, being dark-skinned was brutal. I got bullied a lot just for being black from my black peers. But this difficult time in her life is also where she became Doechii. Her real name is Jayla, but the Doechii persona has been with her for most of her life by now. During an interview with Dazed magazine, she talked about how the artistic persona she would take all the way to the Grammys actually came to her during a pretty dark moment in her young life. Jayla might have been getting bullied, but I decided that Doechii wouldn't stand for that. My whole attitude was different, and it stuck. That summer, Jayla had a rebirth, christening herself once more as Doechii. She said, I realized really young that I'm going to die one day and I'm going to be in the casket by myself. Not even my family will be with me. And I realized that when I die, I want to be happy. I want to know that I did everything I could. I realized I didn't hate myself. I didn't believe what everybody else believed about me. So why did I take it so personally? When I had that realization, it freed me. I named that state of mind and those beliefs Doechii. It really is my core, not an alter ego. And all through those dark times, though, Doechii wasn't alone. I talked about her dad and his support already, but in most of her interviews she talks about her mom, who she primarily lived with and was raised by, being a constant presence and motivating force in her life. Over the years, Doechii has spoken many times on her mom's determination to help her grow when she was a kid, even when, in her words, she had no idea what she wanted to do. As a kid, she was doing soccer, tap dancing, the step team, gymnastics, theater, and even ballet, and her mom was going all out to make sure she could keep trying everything she wanted to try. My theory is that she knew she needed to be nice to secure her spot on the Grammy stage, but besides the 3 billion extracurriculars, of course, the one thing that stuck was music. Doechii was heavily involved with the choir at her local church all through her childhood, which gave her the musical training she would later use in her career. Her musical education pivoted towards the teachings of Christianity. She said, I think my mother wanted to turn her life around and make sure that her kids were built on really good morals, referencing that her mother raised her as a single mom. She started spending 6 days a week in church, performing as a dancerette in a Christian marching band and singing gospel music. She said, all my artistic values and training came from my church. Basically, years before she was ever recording or releasing her own songs, music was the center of her life already. And that is where we pick back up on her YouTube channel in 2019 when she was 21 years old, at the point where both the insane pressures of adulthood and the true power of her creative potential arrive at the exact same time. But just like with any gift, talent, or blessing worth having, before she would see the success she had always dreamed of, she would have to risk everything first. Fast forward back to YouTube, and by the time Doechii reached 19 or 20 years old, she's still vlogging on the regular, but she's now out of high school and into the real world. She's working at Chipotle, she's living on her own, and she had obviously grown a ton from the days when she was a little kid getting bullied at school just for having her own taste in music and fashion. Honestly, a lot of the stuff she was putting out back then is honest in a way that you rarely ever see online.
I'm vulnerable in my relationships, and I feel like in a world where all of the content is just very advertising.
Doechii was always a big dreamer. Even just as a kid making silly videos, she talked about knowing that her purpose was to change the world.
I want people to see themselves in me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want people to realize that I'm only 21, I'm on the same level as you, we're on the same shit, we're on the same journey, I'm still trying to love myself, I'm nothing miraculous or nothing like special or supersonic or some crazy shit like that. I want people to come to my platform and feel warm and just feel like they can relate.
And so she got to this point where, like almost anybody with artistic goals, she had more energy than she did resources. You can see her eventual success bubbling under the surface with her outspoken personality ever since the beginning, confident on camera, uploading consistently for many years, having her own clothing brand. But again, right in 2019, just before COVID, it really started to hit that she knew exactly what she wanted.
I don't care about the expectations and pressures of my audience, what they have for me, and I refuse to live up to them because they're not mine and they're not true. And I wouldn't be being true to myself if I was trying to live up to how I think people.
At the same time, like with every other 19 or 20-year-old who wants to do something big with their life, adulthood was gonna hit her really, really hard.
I just been feeling like I just want to chase my dreams. I just want to be like, oh my God, fuck everything, fuck it. I'm moving to California. I'm following my dreams. Oh God, I'm a performer. I'm an entertainer. I'm a star. But I can't because, bitch, you have to have rent. You have to have a place to live. You have to have money. You have to maintain things. And that's just the way of life. And it's just like the more I invest into just the day-to-day things of taking care of myself, it feels like it's taking away from my dreams.
But it just so happened that that pressure is exactly what would make her the star she was destined to be. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that she started to actually seriously upload videos of her art right at the same time when she seemed the most stressed and the most down. It looks like a moment where the urgency of following her dreams and doing what she most wanted to do truly became a matter of survival rather than just ambition. Just before Christmas in 2018, she uploaded a video called "The Last Shitty Vlog I'll Ever Post."
But I promise that I will never, from this day forward, drop a low-quality vlog such as this. You guys don't deserve this trash, and you will not get it again.
And after that, a few videos later, she posts the first video on her channel that was ever solely dedicated to just her music. She's just standing there wearing shorts and this Buccaneers crew neck and a fanny pack, but the vision was there and you can see who she would eventually become. In this video, even though it's basically a zero-budget performance, she's accompanied by a whole band, 3 guys, one on a keyboard, one on drums, and one either on a synth or a mixing board. It wasn't a billion-dollar tour, but it definitely wasn't half-baked. It's the earliest version of a Doechii performance. This is also around the time she dropped her first ever so-called mixtape, the Coven Music Sessions Volume 1, which honestly really isn't even a mixtape in any traditional sense. The whole thing is like 12 minutes long and half the tracks are a minute in length. This mixtape is literally shorter than Sing of Me I'm Dying of Thirst by Kendrick Lamar, but it was Doechii's first project. She would later say, "I was working on every aspect of my business at that time, making my own content, marketing and filming myself, taking pictures, styling myself, writing the music, shooting the videos, recording. I did everything all alone." Songs like Bills and Doechii 101 did become cult classics for her fans later on, and the series of bedroom recordings she put on YouTube to go along with the project were pretty well loved, but in terms of creating a breakout hit, that didn't happen. The sound of this project is very 2018, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not so much, but it honestly reminds me a lot of Tierra Whack from Philly, who was getting pretty big back then. But overall, Doechii's sound probably wasn't really fleshed out yet. And that's actually what I noticed the most when listening to this 12-minute mixtape. Doechii back in 2018 doesn't sound much like Doechii now at all. Today she has that theatrical, timeless, kind of quirky sound, but back then she sounded like a cross between a SoundCloud rapper and a bedroom pop artist. But then, just a few videos after the Coven Music Session mixtape dropped, she got fired from her job and everything changed forever. The I Got Fired video is only a minute long, and half of that is just her eating chips loudly into the microphone, but it's really clear that something in her mindset had changed completely.
So I got fired today. I don't give a fuck, to be honest. Either way, I'm gonna be straight.
At this point in her life, she had moved to New York City and gotten a job as a student advisor so she could pay bills while trying to find connections and opportunities in music. Now being without the job that was helping pay her bills while she pursued music, she was forced to leave New York and go back to Tampa. But it didn't matter. The urgency to either sink or swim was now more real and serious than ever before.
I'm just gonna go to a whole bunch of like studios and like ask if they have any internships open. I literally have nothing to lose. I have no place. I have no job. I have no children. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Who fucking cares? I'm just gonna do it. I'll let you know how that goes.
And not long after that, she started documenting every aspect of her artistic journey. The obsession and the dedication reached a whole other level.
Hi, if you've never seen my face before, I am Doechii. I'm a full-time creative and influencer here on YouTube. And welcome back to another day in the life.
And once she got started, she didn't give up. She was suddenly posting more frequently than ever before, constantly uploading vlogs, videos of her process, videos of her chasing every opportunity she possibly could.
I'm in a position where I feel like I've done enough self-reflecting. I've reflected on mistakes from the past and everything else. And I feel like I'm at a point where I can start selling products.
When you look through Doechii's channel to this point, some of the videos on her page from 2019 and 2020 have like 2,000 views, maybe 4,000. Some of the videos did pretty well, but it wasn't always consistent. Overall, she was a pretty small YouTuber. But then there's one video from September of 2020. This is 9 months after she got fired from her job and had to move back to Tampa, and the view count on that one is 6 million. Because the music video for this song Yucky Blucky Fruitcake that Doechii made at a local studio in Tampa became a huge hit just a few months after she dropped it. The opening line, "Doechii, why don't you introduce yourself to the class?" became one of those perfect, infinitely reusable TikTok sounds that has over 50,000 videos on the app where people were just using it for anything.
Doechii, why don't you introduce yourself to the class? Okay? Hi, my name's Doechii with 2 eyes. I feel anxious.
And at a time when having a TikTok hit was becoming a huge focus for artists trying to break into the music industry, Yucky Blucky Fruitcake ended up being Doechii's big break. It was also attached to another extremely short 20-minute EP/mixtape called Oh the Places You'll Go, which features energetic, quirky rapping and stories, yet it does, at least for me, feel like it's lacking memorable production. Anyway though, Yucky Blucky Fruitcake ended up racking up tens of millions of Spotify streams for Doechii, at a time when she was previously getting just a few thousand views per month on her typical content. What's wild though is that Doechii wasn't even on TikTok when this happened. She didn't even have an account. But with hundreds of thousands of videos using the sound, suddenly this independent artist who had been grinding on YouTube for years, losing her job and still trying to make it in music, she was watching her stream numbers skyrocket for the first time. But people weren't just using it as a trend either. This wasn't one of those terrible songs that blows up on TikTok and then ends up getting made fun of. It wasn't just a catchy snippet, it was a fully realized song that happened to have a really memorable opening line. And this song was such a hit actually that it caught the attention of Anthony Musa Tiffith Jr., the son of Top Dog Tiffith, the record producer and manager who founded the independent label Top Dog Entertainment in the early 2000s. And TDE, despite starting as a tiny company based in Tiffith's house in Carson, California, discovered and built up artists like Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, and Ab Soul, later also finding artists like Isaiah Rashad and helping SZA also reach incredible mainstream success as the years went on. Top Dog Entertainment is, of course, one of the most critically acclaimed record labels of the modern era, being the only hip-hop label to ever have one of its artists win a Pulitzer Prize and having more than a dozen Grammys to their name. When Musa found the song online, he reached out to offer Doechii the chance to fly out to LA to record at a TDE studio with their in-house team of producers. Doechii later said, It was my first time ever in a professional studio. I was like, I don't even really know how this works. I don't know what they're gonna want me to do. I just know that I don't want to go home and I really want to be a part of this legacy. She later said that she took a shot of tequila, went in the booth, and rained fire over the first beat they played. The rest, as they say, was history. I just went crazy, but I didn't have any words. I got signed off literal gibberish. The relationship with TDE started slow. First, she was featured on the song What You Said from Isaiah Rashad's second album, The House Is Burning, which ended up being one of the most streamed tracks from that entire album. But not long after that, she was also invited to open for SZA at a series of shows in 2021. Then, about a year after Yucky Blucky Fruitcake first went viral, she officially signed a contract with Top Dawg, becoming the first female rapper on the label. And so now, Doechii, after grinding on her music and content with basically very little recognition at all for years, doing all her own photography, styling, recording, promotion, marketing, making her own reaction videos, she was now getting the opportunity to have a real team, real PR, access to real producers and studios. TDE announced Doechii's contract with this bizarre video where they show her getting transported in the back of a trailer truck with an armed escort like she's some kind of X-Man mutant. But after that, things started to really move. In early 2022, she's getting the standard run of articles, interviews, magazine shoots. She's going on Jimmy Fallon, she's dropping songs with SZA, Rico Nasty, and even a collab with Kodak Black that ended up being her biggest hit yet, with almost 400 million Spotify streams and 100 million plays on YouTube. This is also around the time she got chosen to be on the XXL Freshman cover. Next to Nardo Wick, Casey, Babyface Ray, and Babytron, it's one of my personal favorite covers they've done in the recent years, with a lot of the artists being solid, Doechii of course being one of them. So it seemed like the typical TDE strategy was working. With tons of singles, features, and PR, Doechii was becoming a rising star without having dropped a full-length project yet. But it wouldn't be until she dropped her mixtape Alligator Bites Never Heal that Doechii's artistic vision truly came to life. So most places will call Alligator Bites Never Heal Doechii's third mixtape, but it really wasn't. It is her third full-length release on Spotify, but if you take a look at the context of those drops, it's really her first full-length project. The first and second mixtapes are both like 15 minutes long, and they are both self-released and promoted through her YouTube channel alone. They weren't made with a label, not even a local one, and they look, feel, and sound like bedroom projects. In her own words, she had never even stepped into a real professional recording studio until TDE brought her to LA after Yucky Blucky went viral. And so Alligator Bites Never Heal is something else entirely when compared to the rest of her discography, if you can even call it that. With production from a team including Monty Booker, Childish Major, and Devin Malik, producers known for working in the past with artists like Earth Gang, JID, SZA, J. Cole, it has that beautiful acoustic alternative sound that a lot of those artists have been known for in the past. And so while Denial Is a River and Nissan Altima might be the big hits off the record with this traditional theatrical rapidy rap and then trap banger sound, there's actually a wide range of musical ideas on the mixtape. There are beautiful R&B songs like Beverly Hills and the title track, where Doechii displays this great talent for singing that you don't hear on her big hits, and then there are really good deep cuts on the mixtape as well. Death Roll, Prophet, Skip, these are all really atmospheric, catchy songs. But the biggest song from this project, the one that everyone who's watching this video has probably heard or seen already, is something else entirely. And I think it says a lot that a song like Denial Is a River could get as big as it did. It doesn't sound like anything that's come out in decades, and with 250 million plays on a solo song, it was a pretty huge success, especially considering the fact that it's just really unique. The storytelling in the song is already pretty weird. It's about Doechii's ex-boyfriend cheating on her with another man while she descends into the absurd lifestyle of being a rising star in LA. But on top of that, the beat, the storytelling, the voices, it has this lively theatrical sound that you just don't hear in most songs nowadays. And the music video only adds to that, taking inspiration from the look of 90s sitcoms with Doechii as the main character. I think overall, Alligator Bites Never Heal sound like the start of something great. It took me a couple of listens to fully understand, but now it's a mixtape that I actually love putting on and listening to. The visuals, the rapping, the singing, the production, it's all really solid. It's definitely a mixtape. You won't hear some overarching narrative or boundary pushing sound on here, but it kind of does remind me of a project like Days Before Rodeo or Overly Dedicated. It's something with a lot to like. It's not perfect, it's not fully fleshed out, but the talent and the skill and the ideas are obvious. In a lot of ways, I would say it most reminds me of JID's first album, The Never Story, with a nice blend of genres, some rapping, some R&B, some funny yet serious topics, lots of interesting storytelling throughout the album. There are a few beats on Alligator Bites that are a little inoffensive and easy to forget, and there are some songs I'd probably skip, but overall, it's genuinely pretty interesting and catchy. And again though, it's not really even her her third mixtape like most people said. I would really call it her first. It's the first project she's ever dropped that's more than 15 minutes long. It's the first project she's worked on that wasn't recorded in her room with promo photos from a DSLR. It's definitely not an album like Good Kid, Mad City, but let's not forget, Good Kid, Mad City wasn't Kendrick Lamar's first album, or his second, or even his third. It was actually the 7th full-length project that Kendrick Lamar released after 8 years of dropping music. And so when you contextualize Doechii's career so far compared to that, it's actually pretty impressive. And I would say overall, the one part of this mixtape that is fully formed is Doechii's rapping. I think that's what sticks out to me most about the album and the discourse around it. We're in an era of music where the traditional sounds have been deconstructed. People under 25 don't even want to hear rapping. We've gotten to a point where song structure, flows, lyrics, voices, it doesn't mean much. People like Playboi Carti are leading the sound in the mainstream. Artists like Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely, Yeat, Ian. Now, you guys could clip this, you can call me stupid. I'm not trying to compare Doechii and Netspend. That's not what I'm doing. But when you look at the type of artistry and sound that the most tapped in people have come to expect, and then you compare that to what Doechii's doing, it's like, yeah, of course she's gonna get made fun of and people are gonna say, no one's trying to hear that. But there's the other side of it where it's like, you have to recognize that that's just what happens to every single artist who later becomes a boundary pusher. Doechii doesn't look like a boundary pusher because she's making this throwback, theatrical, quirky 90s music, but we're in a time when rapping on top of a beat that sounds like it's from a vampire video game and using flows that would make Eminem have a heart attack is normal. The same people who hated A$AP Rocky in 2011 ended up loving him by the time he dropped 2 or 3 more projects. The same goes for Playboi Carti, Travis Scott, Young Thug, Future. People used to clown Future so hard. You can't change the game in anything in life without facing opposition. That's what changing the game means. And so I do think that Doechii will soon be appreciated for her technical rap skills and traditional approach. It's just gonna take some time before the young kids, people like me, 25 and under, start to understand and appreciate it. Obviously, I could be wrong, but I don't know, if Doechii's next project isn't a huge hit, if it's not even bigger than Alligator Bites and doesn't actually appeal to the youth culture, I will give $1,000 to charity. Maybe charity for deaf people, because clearly if that's the case, I can't hear. Alligator Bites, though, was pretty well received, especially for someone's first full-length project. It peaked at number 5 on the Billboard hip-hop charts, and reviews were really good. And most people seem to agree that Alligator Bites probably wouldn't be the best thing Doechii ever made. It's not a masterpiece, but it was still really, really solid, and more importantly, it was fresh. But what I don't think most of her fans expected was for the mixtape to win one of the most prestigious, visible awards any album could win. When it was nominated for the Best Rap Album of the Year in November of 2024, a few months after it dropped, the competition was nothing if not crazy. Doechii's competition was Common and Pete Rock, 2 legendary classic hip-hop artists, and then Eminem, J. Cole, and Future and Metro Boomin. These are all veterans, all renowned for changing the game in their own ways, all making music for over 20 years now. And then Doechii, who just got signed 2.5 years ago and didn't even have an actual professional studio project out until 4 months earlier. Doechii getting nominated for the Rap Album of the Year when she was just vlogging her journey a couple of years ago. Just getting nominated was a big accomplishment, but it was even crazier when she won. And when she took the stage at the Grammys to accept the award, it was a pretty full circle moment for her life and all the work she had done up until that moment. She's talked a lot about struggling with alcoholism in the last few years and how she had to turn to complete sobriety in order to focus on making better music and achieving her goals. But being able to go even further back than that and to see someone's childhood thoughts, being able to watch someone sit at their laptop and say that they want to change the world at the age of 16 and to end up doing it, it's not something we've ever seen in the past, and watching her win the award gives it all a whole other level of meaning. But it was also the exact moment that would make millions of people violently angry and tell Doechii that she didn't deserve it. She is literal trash. She needs to find another career. Maybe she should start cleaning Kendrick's house that has a higher chance of still getting paid after 2 years. This may be controversial, but Doechii is a bad attempt of an industry plant, and I think people can see right through it. It's a turnoff. Why are you trying to force me to like your music? Anxiety by Doechii is astronaut in the ocean level of bad. Doechii is fucking garbage. I've changed my mind. Stop playing her songs. They are so obnoxious. I'd rather listen to Dance Monkey than her. I've never seen an artist more forced on people than Doechii. She fucking sucks. Not to hop on the hate bandwagon, but Doechii is ass. Whether it was Azalea Banks calling her an ugly wannabe, or every podcaster with a microphone saying they had never heard of Doechii, it's been a frenzy online to say that you don't know her or you don't like her music.
I was like, oh, who's this girl Doechii out of nowhere, and she already has a hip-hop Grammy? That sounds a little suspicious to me. Very plant-like. And then I saw that she was a TDE artist. I said, of course.
Any other year, that album wouldn't even be considered. If it wasn't a TDE push, no one would have put that in there. To this day, I haven't been nowhere where somebody say, put on that Doechii album.
But the truth is, almost no one is ever happy about the Grammy for Best Rap Album. This particular category just almost always misses. In 2020, Tyler won for Igor, which straight up isn't a rap album. In 2019, Cardi B won over Astroworld and Mac Miller, and in 2014, literally worst of all, Macklemore won over Good Kid, Mad City, Nothing Was the Same, and Yeezus in a contest that was seemingly so biased and unfair that Macklemore went and personally apologized to Kendrick Lamar for feeling like he didn't deserve to win it over him. But it's really not even the rap album category either. Throughout the entire Grammys, there are just consistently strange, bizarre choices for nominations. There are these bands that will get nominated for Album of the Year and no one has ever heard of them before. And there was even the time that Steely Dan, a band from the early 1970s who had been on hiatus for 20 years prior, won Album of the Year over Radiohead and Eminem. In 2011, a young jazz artist named Esperanza Spalding supposedly stole the Best New Artist award from Justin Bieber and Drake in a hugely controversial upset that Drake still sounds salty about to this day. Basically, there are a million reasons to feel like the Grammys are biased or even corrupt. And yeah, objectively, it's a bit odd that Alligator Bites Never Heal would be the rap album of the year. It's Doechii's first full-length project ever. It's not even a studio album, it's just a mixtape. But I do think a lot of the people who seem to feel like the Grammys are pushing some kind of ideology by picking Doechii probably just hate her because she's a woman rapper or LGBT or this or that. But even if the Grammys were biased towards those sorts of demographics, why would they pick Chris Brown of all people to have won Best R&B Album this year at the same time? That doesn't make any sense. And for 2025, I personally listened to Future and Metro Boomin's album a bit more than Alligator Bites, but honestly, I do think she probably deserved the win compared to the other options. Going up against Future, J. Cole, Eminem, and Common and Pete Rock is really tough competition. Those are some of the most influential, respected artists in the game with massive fan bases. But for every single one of those artists, the albums they put out were kind of just regular old albums. These people already have 10 plus projects out in their discography. None of the other albums she went up against were really essential, boundary-pushing, interesting new ideas. Eminem's album was nothing groundbreaking. He's not covering new territory, ideas, or stories. He's in his 50s, making the same jokes he always did. Common and Pete Rock are obviously important and influential, but they aren't making a big impact in 2025. And J. Cole's album was literally just a mixtape to hold his fans over until his next project. It literally wasn't even a studio album either. Alligator Bites is something fresh. It's something where there's a discussion around it. It's something that's really good. It genuinely is a bit odd for the Grammys to pick someone's first full-length project as Rap Album of the Year, but I don't think it doesn't make sense, especially considering their track record of weird decisions. Ultimately, the idea that the industry is planting an artist, especially Doechii, makes no sense. First of all, there's 7 years of vlogging that shows how much of an industry plant she isn't. It shows her artistic struggles, it shows her going broke, getting fired, moving out of her parents' house to chase a dream that she ended up failing at and had to start over. You can see her ambition to become an artist evolve from nothing. And you can see that she had organic hits before she ever got signed to a label to begin with. But secondly, if it were possible to pay for or force or influence a Grammy Award, why wouldn't someone more established just pay for it themselves? Eminem's basically a billionaire at this point. He could just buy it. Does Doechii even have any crazy cosigns? She has a song with SZA. She was on the Isaiah Rashad album, but it's not like she was featured on SZA's latest project or on any of Kendrick Lamar's recent material. They are label mates. Surely they could push the buttons for her and make things happen. The biggest collaboration she's done so far was with Tyler the Creator, but that's basically just one small example of a cosign from a more established artist. Not 20, not 30. I think being an industry plant isn't the heart of the issue. Doechii has had hits coming out for years, and her label does do their job of getting her decent PR opportunities, lots of magazine articles, lots of interviews, lots of videos. In reality though, the people who don't like her just don't like her. Whether it's her being a black woman or a woman rapper or LGBT or just daring to be outwardly ambitious and confident in her success, there are a lot of people who aren't open-minded enough or interested in stuff that's different. I think there's a Rolling Stone article that gets to the heart of what I'm talking about really accurately. It says, industry plant is a buzzword that has never had a universally agreed upon meaning. It might fit for an artist who popped up out of nowhere while neglecting to mention having a powerful family member in the industry, But that doesn't fit the profile of Doechii, a 10-year veteran who delivered a polished, adventurous project and paired it with fun music videos and creative direction. Side note, again, Doechii's dad, yeah, he's in the music industry, but he's not some powerful, rich person with influence who got her signed. He's a dude who makes songs in Tampa. The article says, Doechii is the true definition of the overnight star, being a decade in the making, and she worked hard to warrant the marketing she now receives. At the same time that rap fans bemoan the depth of rap stardom, there's dismay that Doechii is now becoming a rap star. Some may legitimately feel like her playful animated delivery isn't for them, but the armchair A&Ring has reached a phase of outsmarting itself, where we're mad at her because her label invested in her, and she met the moment. But again, I do think in a way that Doechii winning Best Rap Album on her first ever full-length project is weird, but not in a suspicious way, and it's not any more weird at all than a bunch of other stuff that happens at the Grammys all the time, especially the fact that Chris Brown is winning awards. People talking about how the Grammys is some corrupt liberal organization that pushes an agenda. Why would Chris Brown be winning R&B Album of the Year if that were the case? Ultimately, Doechii is interesting to the kinds of people who get to vote in award shows though. She makes unique music with an interesting artistic vibe. It's artsy. They like artsy stuff. That's why Tyler, the Creator, and Kendrick Lamar have both won like 20 times. Even now, Doechii has another big hit gaining momentum. In under 3 weeks, her latest single, Anxiety, reached over 125 million plays with no features or cosign. And the funny thing about this new single though is that it isn't new. Doechii originally recorded Anxiety in 2019 and released it on her YouTube and SoundCloud, but back then she didn't have enough of a following to make it blow up. Re-releasing it now though, it's climbing the Billboard Hot 100, reaching the top 10 and still going. It's literally everywhere. It has over 100 million plays in just a couple of weeks. I heard it on speakers at like 3 events last weekend, and it's just a fun, appealing song. The flow on Anxiety is kind of silly, it's not that serious, but that makes it insanely catchy, and the beat samples Somebody That I Used to Know, which is already iconic. I think overall, Doechii being called an industry plant is just plain ignorance. When you look at her career up till now, it's actually a great story that shows how much hard work goes into a music career and how much dedication and love you have to have for your craft to achieve even a small amount of success in such a difficult industry. She had to work for years and years and years to build up to being able to make a song like Yucky Blucky Fruitcake and then blow up and then keep going, making more and more music, working more and more. I don't even think the term industry plant really means anything at all to begin with, because in reality, all that would mean is that you have a good label that knows how to push you. But even then, you can literally go on YouTube right now and watch Doechii evolve in real time from a kid in school to a young adult trying to be an entrepreneur to pushing her music to a tiny online audience, and then we can even see her risking it all to change her life forever. I think after such a pretty good, not perfect, but pretty good project like Alligator Bites making the impact it did, having so much conversation around it, really does feel like Doechii is going to become one of the next great artists of our generation as she gets more experience and puts out more material. But still, she's already one of the most successful artists to come out this decade. There are only a few artists in hip-hop who have gotten any kind of mainstream attention after debuting so far this decade. I think Yeat, Ken Carson, even then they're not mainstream. And so as far as the group of rappers who have debuted this decade, Doechii is already the biggest of them. And with the backlog and the archive of content that's out there, the evolution of the bedroom artist blowing up on TikTok and then signing to the same label that built up Kendrick Lamar and SZA, it's literally proof that success isn't this mysterious conspiracy, but that you can dedicate yourself to your dreams. You can manifest your own success, and it doesn't matter what people say, because no one except you has a right to influence what you're capable of doing with your life, your ideas, and your creativity. And obviously, I do want to show you guys the Spirit of Creativity, one of the necklaces from my brand Spirit World that's on sale right now for our spring sale. I designed all these necklaces to represent different aspects of my own creative journey to try and make them useful reminders for everyone who wears them. The one I'm wearing right now is the Spirit of Creativity. It's this beautiful little butterfly that flies through the night sky and reminds us all to keep pushing for our dreams no matter what we do. I made these for me, but I also wanted to make them for everybody else as well, because each of these pieces tells a story and is designed to not just be fashionable and well-made and luxurious, but most importantly, it carries a reminder of the journey of life. For me, it's about the importance of continuing on no matter what, because most of the time, I don't want to, but I know that I have to if I'm gonna go where I know I can. And so it really does stand for something. I started this brand totally independently. I design, ship, and fulfill every order. And best of all, it really is a luxury level piece. It's made of solid sterling silver, it has hand painted details, and it even has real brilliant gemstones in its eyes. I love these pieces. We have 4 in total with 2 more coming very soon. And the support that you guys have given with these has really helped Volksgeist this past year. So again, all the pieces are on discount right now. You can go to our website and check it out. You can get up to 20% off if you do put in your email. And please send me pictures of you guys wearing them to the Spirit World Instagram as often as you can. When I make these, all I want to do is remind you that the only thing crazier than trying your hardest in life is to not try. It doesn't matter who you are, a rapper, a producer, a photographer, a student, a writer, we all get a chance to work hard every day. So again, that's spiritworld.store. Check out the spirit of creativity, our new pieces, Chaos and Harmony, and everything else on there. We always have free shipping in the US, and every pendant obviously comes with a chain as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the story of Doechii, and I'll see you very soon.